anyway, that happened, and every time it started raining, of course, we'd always run to the wagon and get under the wagon till the rain stopped. And for some days, I kind of prayed for rain to get a break so it wouldn't get cooler and then we wouldn't have to pick for a while. Because if cotton gets wet, you can't pick it. It's just, it gets hot, it gets heavy with water, and it's a mildew on you if you put it in a wagon and it's not dry, so you don't pick cotton. But anyhow, we had a scale out there, and it's called a pea, not like eat or whatever, and you just put that scale down like that, and you put that pea on, and you slide it over to the number of pounds, like 100 down to 10 or something. You just put this weight on there, and it would, once it balanced, and that's when you record how much weight you had in that cotton sack. And we'd put that old cotton sack on, had a big strap across it, and we'd pull that thing, and my dad could pick 300, 400 pounds a day. He could really pick, and there was a lady called Miss Herzig, and her son lives in Weimar. She was about as good as my dad. She could pick that cotton. And my daddy could pick 2 rows at a time. He would get on his knees, he'd have crawlers, knee pads, and he would pick 2 rows at a time. And I would try to pick 1 row and kind of straddle it and on the side, and could never keep up with him. I wouldn't even try. But and I'd complain sometimes. I said, "Man, my back's killing me." He said, "I don't know what you're gonna do when you get my age. You already got back problems. I don't know what you can do when you get old." so anyway, in those sacks, I don't know. I guess they get up to 75 pounds or so. Then we'd empty them. We'd empty them in a trailer, and I think we'd put about 16, 17, 1,800 pounds of cotton in there. And we'd keep putting it in there and put a cover over it at night, and we call it tarp, just old tarps, and put it over it, and we'd fill it up. And one day my dad said, that was about, I guess, when I was about starting my freshman year, when we had a bale filled. Well, he said, "I'm gonna let you take this bale of cotton to town." My gosh, was I was ecstatic, because I love to drive a tractor, still do. I said, "You gonna let me take this to town?" He said, "Yep. We're gonna hook it up tomorrow morning, and I think that was a Saturday morning, I'm pretty sure." Said, "We're gonna let you get started, because we're gonna, I have to go slower with that tractor, of course." He said, "You get started early, and we'll come on a little later on, and we'll meet you at J.R. Till Gin." That's where we ginned our cotton. It was 2 cotton gins, Mr. Seifert and Mr. Till. And he said, "We'll meet you at the gin," and he said, "You take the back road, and it's a little closer, and just take your time." So, man, I hooked up that trailer, and next morning got that farm all going, and hooked that sucker up, and man, I had my hat on, and I'm pulling it out of the river bottom, and trying to get up by the house, get on up on the road, and I go the back road, and I'm going across this old rickety bridge there, and had no sides to it or anything, just an old back roads bridge. And I didn't have any fear about it falling. It didn't really occur to me that much, but I was very careful. I took it pretty slow and easy. I didn't go across there too fast. Maybe I should have, get across faster, but nevertheless, I didn't want to rock it. So then I hit that throttle, and I was got it running up in the, I think, 4th or 5th gear, whatever they had the highest then. and I got it rolling pretty good, and I guess I was going about 15 miles an hour at best. And I had to go up this hill, and of course I got about 3/4 way up, and I was losing power because I was in that faster gear, and the tractor started balking and stalking. I mean, it started shimmering a little bit, and I was losing power. And I'd never been in that situation before. You just can't push in the clutch while it's rolling, because the transmissions on those tractors are not synchronised. In other words, you have to be at a full stop before you could change gears. And so I get up there, and I lost power. It didn't die on me, but I was losing power. I had to come to dead still, and of course this 1,800-pound trailer back to me was starting pulling me backwards, and it was starting to curve me around a little bit. And I'm trying to fight this thing, trying to keep the brakes on with one foot, and trying to push in the clutch and try to get that thing out of that gear so I can get into a lower gear. And it was a little bit of a frightening experience, but I don't know how long it took, but it was probably not as long as I think, but it was kind of frightening because I've never been through that before, and I was losing ground because it was pulling me back, and I finally got it stopped enough to where I could change gear, and I put it in the most powerful gear, which was very slow. They had a lot of power, and I throttled that thing up there and finally got up to the top. And so after that, I still had some hills to climb, but I didn't have that bridge there where I had to slow up so much. So when I got going downhill, I really got that thing RPM'd up as much as I could, and so I could make it over those hills without having to stop and rechange my gears. So finally got over to the main farm market road, which is 155, cutting through all there, and that was actually I think it might have been paved a little bit out of Weimar by then. At least it was gravel, I know that. And most of the road I was on was gravel, not much, but it had some. But I think it was paved out so far, not all the way to Holman, I don't think. But nevertheless, I made it into Weimar, and well, I was something driving into Weimar, Texas, sitting on that tractor, and I was proud. I was pulling that bale of cotton into town, and you could flip your seat back, and if you got tired, you could stand up in that tractor and hold on to the steering wheel, and people used to say when people did that, they were just so proud that they stood up to let their rear end laugh. Maybe that's what I did, because I did that too, because I was tired of sitting, and I stood up too. But maybe that's what they used to say it was. But anyway, got into that gin, and that gin is it's just one big huge vacuum cleaner deal. I mean, and it was flexible, and it just sucked all that cotton up there and went through all these different machines and gyrations, and it would separate the seed from the cotton, and then that cotton would come down, and this big press would just keep, as it would shoot in there, it would keep pushing that cotton down, and just keeping it, pushing it down, and then when you finished your bale, that press would hold that cotton bale down, and then they would take steel cables and run them through there on the top and on the bottom, and then tighten them up. I think it had 3 on there, and average bale of cotton weighed around 500 pounds, give or take some pounds, maybe 550 or whatever. Some of them were a little bigger, but around 500 pounds. And then they would release that press and open those sides would, they'd unhook those sides, and those sides would flop open. And they'd take a cotton hook, and two guys would pull that cotton bale out and slide it out. And then they would take it down by the railroad track where there was a big platform down there, and they would stack those cotton bales, because most of them were shipped out by rail. And they took and I hope I can find this after. Well, I've got a cotton sample somewhere here that I got from Uncle Bill and Aunt Frida's. They would take something like a carpet knife, and they would just, on one side between those cables, would cut a circle out of it and pull out because it's pretty tight, pull out a handful of cotton, and they'd wrap it in like butcher paper, and then you would take it to town, which is right there, and your bale would be marked and all that, and there would be about 5 or 6 merchants in town, and you'd go by and they would take that cotton and they'd pull it apart and see what the staple is, I guess the grade, and they would decide, well, we'll give you X number cents per pound, and sometimes it might be 18 1/3 or 18 3/4. Sometimes it wouldn't be an even number, it would be a odd number. I don't remember the exact what it was going for, but it would very seldom be an even number, because they knew their cotton, and then they would just buy that cotton, and then they would pay you for it, and then it would then the trains would come by and pick it off and pick it up and haul it off. So anyway, that's kind of the way that went, but but anyhow, that tractor experience was that made me a little bit gray on my early graying of my hair a little bit, but anyway, I'm gonna stop now for a little bit, take a break, and I may continue a little bit later on. I hope I can pick up where I'm at here without boring you too much further and repeating myself.